Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Falling on Christ. Today's topic is to the heart of the matter on love and relationships. Now last week in my video about finding happiness in our modern culture, I talked a little bit about self-sacrificing love. And I specifically used the term agape, which is a Greek word for, one of the Greek words for love, meaning specifically to want what's best for another person. And I just wanted to go into that more and really use that as a rebound, I guess, or a transition, I guess, because one of the places we look for happiness the most in is relationships. And sometimes that can be a good place to find it, but most of the time it's not. You can't just look for a relationship and expect to be happy in it. It takes a lot of work, and the work that you put in, if you're willing to put in that much work, can lead to a really great, healthy relationship that leads to definite happiness. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because love and relationships, that's something that, especially in my generation, it's a big deal for us. We're constantly looking for, especially girls, we're constantly looking for guys to, make us happy. And we're looking for relationships and thinking like that's the fact that we're in a relationship means that we are loved, but that's not necessarily the truth. So we need to be able to deal with that and how to make sure that you're in one of those relationships, and how to tell if you're not, and when you're in a relationship, how to make sure that that's the kind of relationship that you want. So, first off, what is the point of dating? This is a big problem for us, and especially in this generation, because like I said earlier, we think of relationships as a way to, say that we're popular, or that, people just love us, like somebody wants me, therefore I am loved, but that's not the truth. You shouldn't be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. Relationships are meant for finding the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And that needs to be taken seriously, a lot more seriously than most people take it nowadays. Because marriage is supposed to be a one-time thing. Like in the Catholic Church, it is, it says in Genesis, God made them male and female for this reason. When a man joins with his wife, he should leave his father and mother and, live with her. And they're the two have become one, and what God has separated, no man must separate. So it's for life. It's and that's serious, and we take that for granted. Everything going on right now, like the divorce rate is ridiculously high. I mean, just the number of people cheating on their spouse or the person they're dating, the lack of faithfulness in our culture. It's almost kind of sickening, honestly, and at least the way I see it. Because the idea, at least for me, that you have one person in your whole life that he's meant for you. This person is meant for you. The idea that you would give that up on somebody else. And I mean, I feel like the idea that you are meant for one person, I mean, that person should be a priority to you even before you meet them, because the choices you make are going to impact that relationship even now, which you might not think matters. The choices you make in a relationship now will affect your marriage. But say if you were engaged multiple times to different people within a time period, it shows that or even engaged to many people at all, it shows that there's a potential for it to come off as you don't take relationships seriously. You don't take marriage seriously. And so it's harder for that marriage contract to be made. Or for that, for that marriage covenant to be made. Because it's hard to look at you seriously if you aren't taking relationships seriously from the get-go. Because you're not just going to turn around and be like, okay, so I totally was just messing around with all these people in high school, but now that I'm like I met somebody who I think is really cool, I'm just going to turn it all around and none of that's going to matter anymore. Like, the person that you end up with, them seeing that way, it's hard to trust you in that. And I think that's a big deal that we need to look out for. Is making sure that marriage for us is serious. That relationships for us is serious. Because that can only help that marriage and that relationship. And it can only make you stronger. Because if you're turning away from guys or girls who from the get-go aren't going to be around for long, what's the point? Next question is something I think people in long relationships are dealing with, and something that a lot of people are kind of struggling with now. It's how long you should be in a dating relationship before moving to the next level, which is, of course, like getting engaged. I can't give you like an exact time distance because it's different for every person. But what I can say is that if you have only known each other for a couple months before you start dating, and then you're only dating for a couple of months before you get engaged, like, that's not okay. And here's why. Because I know a lot of people will be like, but I really love this person, I really care about this person, and I know that this is the person who's meant for me, But I want you to think about it this way, okay? As, like, beautiful of an idea as marriage is getting married is, think of the benefits that can come from you saying, I want to take another year or so to prove to you that I will still love you no matter how long we are together, that I will not change my mind. And to say, I know we want to do this now, but I want to keep proving to you that I will be faithful to you for the rest of my life. I think that's such a romantic idea. It's such a beautiful idea. And it could be hard, and it'd be self-sacrifice for both the husband and the wife. But if you think about it, that idea is so attractive because you're proving, and it's not just one person proving it to the other person. That person now also has to accept the idea that they are going to wait another year or so. It doesn't matter. But if you've been in a shorter relationship, offer up a year at least to prove to this person that you will be there to love them and to cherish them for the rest of your life no matter what happens. And I think that can do a lot for the relationship because it shows that you value her and or him or her enough to put off what you want and to make that choice. It's a difficult choice to make too, but to make that choice, it says a lot about people, and I think that's something we need to think about. In any relationship that you're in, you have to be able to make sacrifices for the good of the other person. Because the more that you make those kind of sacrifices, the more that you are proving to them that you love them. It's not through sex like a lot of people apparently think it is. Like a lot of people think that it's like when you give yourself to them, that's proving that you love them. And that's why we have all these relationships where kids are losing their virginity at young ages, and like there's infidelity going on in marriages and stuff like that. It's not in sex that you prove that you love someone. It's in sacrificing yourself instead of sacrificing them. Giving up what you want for their own good. And that's where you're going to prove to them the most how much you care about them. So that's a big deal, and you need to think. We all need to think about it, and it's something I struggle with too. Is like, I just kind of want to be in a relationship. I'm one of those people, and it's not okay, but it's something I struggle with, and I'm coming to the point where I'm realizing that I need to start making more sacrifices for the people that I care about, the people that I'm considering being in a relationship with, you know. And that's a big deal to me. So, if you're in a relationship, one of the things that people struggle with a lot right now is setting boundaries. I know a lot of people in high school have lost their virginity, and that's a big deal, and that's the funniest thing, okay? Those of us who have waited through high school and who are waiting to give that to the person we get married to, it's a big deal for us. And I think that if you think about it, and it's actually a very beautiful, very romantic concept. Like, you're giving them something that no one else is ever going to get. And you're giving them the most of you that you can offer them in sex. And so we believe that that belongs to that one person, right? But a lot of people don't see it that way. A lot of people use sex to feel love or to, for pleasure, stuff like that. It doesn't have a lot of meaning behind it. And in our culture, that's really hard to set boundaries to prevent that, because that's what everybody's doing. And but it's funny though, because the people who don't wait, who give that up early, they'll turn around, and then like at the end of high school, like so many girls came up to me and are like, dude, I wish I would have waited to give that to somebody more important. I'm like, and that's the thing, because if you wait, if you sacrifice that, that's something beautiful that you can give to your husband or your wife, or whatever, And it's something that needs to be cherished. So, the problem with this, though, is that in relationships now, it's a lot about physical intimacy, and it's kind of hard to avoid that a lot of the time. So, how do we prevent ourselves from getting to that point? Because what happens is when you get to that point or get close to it, it becomes a lot harder to avoid the act of sexuality, like, altogether. And so what we need to do is we need to set boundaries from the get-go. Is at the start of the relationship, you need to make sure that the person you're dating knows that you don't want to have sex with them until after marriage. Set boundaries as far as where your lines are crossed. Let them know these things, because otherwise you have to keep pushing over further and further and seeing, okay, where is this person draw the line? And that's when it starts to go downhill really fast. But if they know where your limits are from the get-go, then it's a lot easier to have a healthy whole relationship. And one of the things I just want to say real quick, this is my little throw-in. If you want to learn more about this and how to deal with relationships, how to find good people to be in relationships with, how to learn who to avoid, there's this book by Jason and Kristalina Everett, who are big Catholic chastity speakers, but they have this book called How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul. And it's a book that's technically for women. And girls, I really strongly advocate reading this book because there's so much to take from it. Even if you don't think that you could get anything from it, it shows you a lot about cues that guys will give off when they're people you need to avoid, or things that they'll say or do that should prove to you that they are legitimate and are in it for you, or are in it for the long run, But I don't want you guys to think, guys, don't think this book is not for you. Because here's the thing. This book talks a lot about what kind of guys we don't want to be around. Or, what kind of guys we don't want to be in relationships with. And, and also what kind of guys we do want to be in a relationship with. So, what this means for you, you read this book, and you can learn really easily what kind of guys you need to be in relationships. Because that's a calling that, every guy is called to really appreciate the virtue and the dignity of a woman, even if you're going to be in a relationship with her or not. But you need to prove to girls that no matter whether you like them or not in that way, this is going to be the way that you're going to treat them. So this book is really good for guys because it shows you what kind of men you need to be. And it's really cool because it kind of creates a balance, because it talks about what we need to avoid as well, like how we need to not behave and dress and stuff like that. And then there's this ability for us to change as a generation together, because men are stepping up their level, women are stepping up their levels, and then you just keep growing and growing together, because you can't have one without the other. It's really hard for guys to grow in virtue and in chastity while the girls are just staying down here where we're just trying to throw ourselves at you, And vice versa. Guys, it's really hard for us to become more virtuous, more pure, if you guys are making comments about, how hot we are, or, just anything, about wanting to be in a sexual relationship with us, and then just, looking at us like we're some kind of object or treating us that way. We're not going to be able to step ourselves up there unless you also are stepping yourselves up to that level of purity and chastity. So again, the book is called How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul by Jason and Kristalina Everett. And I'll put a link in the description below about where to find it, or just a picture of the book or something like that, so you can find it yourselves. If you've already read it, go ahead and read it. Honestly, read it again, because your situation may have changed, and there might be things in this book that apply to you now that didn't before. And if you haven't read this, please read this book. It's such a beautiful book, and you can take so much out of it. And it's something I'm reading right now, and it's a big deal. So, yeah. Okay. And speaking of big deal, the next thing I want to talk about real quick is making everything in a relationship a big deal. And it's something we take for granted, is the little things in a relationship, like holding somebody's hand, or, just having your arm around them or something like that. That might not seem like a big deal, and to some of you it might be a big deal, and keep looking at it that way. But for those of us who don't, and I'm included in this, we need to start looking at little things in relationship as big things. Because the more you can cherish the little things in a relationship, the more beautiful and, just the more powerful the big things are going to be. And when you can look at relationships that way, it does so much good for the relationship, and it helps you both grow as people. And especially in virtue and in chastity, it makes it so much easier. If you look at little things like they're a big deal. So make everything a big deal in a relationship. Every step you take, even if it's a tiny little one, make it a big deal. Okay, and then lastly, this kind of goes along with a lot of stuff I was saying earlier, but make high standards. Like, have high standards. Because for us girls, we're struggling right now in life because we look around, we're looking for these kind of guys that are like very gentlemanly and are virtuous and don't treat us like objects and who look at us like we're beautiful every single day. And that's the kind of guy we want. But the thing is, we have a hard time finding that in our culture. Like, our culture surrounds us with these things are like, chastity's a joke, purity's nothing, like, don't even pay attention, it's stupid and it's just a bunch of rules and that are going to take away your freedom and stuff like that. No, it's not it. Because the thing is, even though a lot of girls may dress impurely or act impurely, we're looking for pure guys, which is really hypocritical, but we're girls and that's kind of our thing. So, I mean, it's hard for us because we look around and see these guys who treat us like objects. And because of that, we feel like there aren't any pure guys out there. Which is frustrating and not true at all. And then you're like, okay, all the good guys are actually taken already. Well, that's great for them, but, we need more of these guys that are wholeheartedly pure and are going to treat us like beautiful creations of God. And for guys, vice versa. I mean, you want girls who aren't going to be throwing themselves at you, who aren't going to be wearing stuff that's like showing off their cleavage and stuff like that, just dressing impurely. Guys don't want that. They don't want that. Because, I mean, it's like, there have been a lot of different studies all around, like, especially in college campuses across the country, that have studied what guys are looking for in the girls, and it turns out they're actually looking for girls who are very pure, and have modesty and preserve that dignity in themselves. So, if this is what we're looking for in each other, we need to make sure that we have that as a standard. Because if we lower our standards for guys or for girls, then we deserve better. We deserve people that are going to meet our high standards. And it's really cool because when you set higher standards, it's a lot easier to look around and see the kind of people that you want to be with, and to find those kind of people, like, it's a lot easier to pick them out, So set higher standards and don't let other people be like, okay, you're just being too uptight or you're being picky and stuff like that. Well, yeah, you want to be picky because this is the person that you're going to be spending the rest of your life with. You don't want to have to settle for somebody who doesn't respect themselves enough to, be pure and help you grow and help you to come closer to Christ, You don't want people who are just going to throw themselves at you, or look at you like an object. You don't want that. So don't settle because you're going to be stuck with that settling for the rest of your life. So this was my little video on love and relationships, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. One thing I just want to throw in real quick is I recently set up an email for this YouTube channel. If you guys have anything personal about, like, personal stories that you want to talk to me about or have questions with, send me an email because I really value that you guys are talking to me about this stuff. But I want your personal stories to stay personal and to stay private, because that's a big deal for you, and it might be hard for you to put it out there for everyone to see. So just send it to me in an email, and I can help you on a more personal level and deal with that, you know. And that email is fallingonchrist@gmail.com. All one word, all lowercase, just fallingonchrist@gmail.com. So send me an email if you guys have any questions or anything like that. So, and then one other thing real quick is want you guys to kind of tune in the next few weeks. I'm really starting to dig in to this stuff and really start moving forward. So I'm going to be talking about, next week I'll be talking about sexuality and the church's stance on sex, and like how we need to look at sex. And then the week after that, I'll be talking about the church's stance on homosexuality, and the week after on dealing with homosexuality. So those are the next 3 weeks, and they're subject to change, so don't hold me to that. But I really want, those are big things for us in our culture, and so I want those to be dealt with kind of upfront. So, again, let me know if you guys have anything to talk about, or have anything for me to talk about, sorry. And if you have any questions, again, email me, fallingonchrist@gmail.com. Follow me, subscribe, like this video, please. And I hope you guys are all having a great day, great life, being happy. Thank you guys so much, and have a nice week.